Good morning, everyone. It's Alex. It's very rainy today, and we've got a nice, long, rainy drive ahead of us. So I wanted to take today to just chat a little bit about, I haven't been a little busy over the weekend, so I only got a little bit of programming done. So I figured it would be nice to just chat about something fun, lighthearted, and entertaining, like Twin Peaks. Yeah, how about that? I hadn't really seen any of David Lynch's stuff before, maybe like 2 months ago. I had seen the original Dune, and I remember that I watched it back in college, which was right around when right after the first Dune remake came out. The first Denis Villeneuve one came out, and I remember it being batshit insane. That stuck with me. The just like some of like the crazy stuff going on in that movie, the visuals, all of the insane acting, and the way that the Fremen leader says to Kyle MacLachlan, "Usul, Usul." I was just like, oh, that guy has a fantastic voice. And you just go, oh yeah, Stilgar. Stilgar's his name. See, I read the six original Dune books. I know this stuff. But yeah, I thought, so I was on a bit of a Dune kick back then, and it kind of just went through because of that. I heard a lot about David Lynch as being kind of like a strange guy. His movies are all very artsy or whatever. And I'd have heard of, Twin Peaks is probably the thing that I had seen talked about the most often, right? And so, to my surprise, my beautiful fiance, she one day said, "Oh, let's go watch Twin Peaks," or actually, it was "Let's go watch Mulholland Drive," and then "Let's go watch Twin Peaks." I was like, "Okay, let's do it." Oh, I'm down. That sounds really interesting to me. And so we did, and now I think we've watched maybe like 6 of 10 David Lynch movies. I'm trying to think here. It's we've gone through quite a few of them, and I have to say that Twin Peaks probably is by far and away my favorite out of all the stuff we've seen. And in specific, it's got to be that Twin Peaks season 3 is just all killer filler, as they say. That's a fantastic show. So I guess let's jump into the talking about Twin Peaks here. So it's very, I think if you haven't seen it before, you probably go watch it, because this is a just spoiler-filled discussion. Turn back now. Now that I've got your attention, and your like, comment, and subscribe. It's a procedural sort of about, an FBI agent goes into a small town to investigate the murder of prom queen or homecoming queen Laura Palmer. And in this small town, everyone knows each other. Everything's sort of like connected. And so it's this outsider looking into this strange place. It has all this, this like great soap opera drama as part of it. And then kind of the things that elevate it are, David Lynch and Mark Ross's contributions, the incredibly weird and strange ideas bouncing around all over the place. Stuff like the Red Room is I knew what the Red Room was when I was like a kid growing up, before I had ever even heard of Twin Peaks. It featured prominently in an episode of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated on Cartoon Network back in the day. So that was a big one for me. And then just all the the weird stuff, and you can see, as a big X-Files fan back in those days too, and it's just got all of this Twin Peak influence all over it. I think looking back, when I understand, this is the one of the pioneering TV shows that really sold serialization outside of just a standard soap opera sort of format. And that has really brought us to where we are today with with TV and streaming the way it is now. We treat it basically as 10-hour movies that come out every 3 years or so. So that's Twin Peaks. It's fantastic. Yeah. Oh no, I'm running out of things no, I can keep going. It's like this fantastic, beautiful show with all these incredible characters, this very rich world, and it's something that I am still thinking about now, after a couple of months have passed after having finished the show, and it's simply because it's that good. It is really a fantastic, not just world, but setting and place where all these really unique stories are built in. And there's just so much more in there than than your typical TV show. And so another show that my fiance and I just finished watching is Mayor of Easttown, and I thought Mayor of Easttown was fantastic. It's actually on the very surface level. It's basically the same setup as Twin Peaks, where you have sort of outside cop to a small town helping the local cop come in, solve a mystery of this sort of like abused teenage girl who was mysteriously killed. They look into like her family and friends and all these things. It's incredibly similar in premise to Twin Peaks, but it has, admittedly, it's got fantastic writing and direction. The acting from the main cast in that show is really great, and especially Kate Winslet as that in that title role. She is really, really good. That is a character. That was a show that my mother really loved. Tried to get me to watch for a couple of years. I'm glad we finally went down and did. But I think for my money, that is a fantastic, great, self-contained story that has this excellent message at the end. All these interesting themes and stuff. That is at the high end of what I think you can get out of a studio limited streaming show. But okay, it's the ideas though. Twin Peaks just has so much in it, and I think it's just the way that David Lynch operates and comes up with all this stuff out of his subconscious on the fly, and then he's supported by a group of people that allow him to spin it into this pretty fantastic narrative and excellently made television, where I think I have to still give it to Twin Peaks. And so there's a couple things, right? If you take a look at these two shows head to head, in the first two seasons of Twin Peaks, I have to say, maybe they are great. Probably Mayor of Easttown is head to head better written, better acted, with better choreography or never mind, better cinematography than Twin Peaks season 1 is. Twin Peaks season 1 very much a 90s TV show production budget, etc. 90s studio show. But again, it has all of these additional bits on top of it that bring it there. And then that's Twin Peaks season 3 is just like an unforgettable, awesome experience where everybody, all of the returning cast have had their acting chops leveled up immensely, even by Fire Walk with Me. What's her name, Cheryl Lee as Laura Palmer. She's okay in the show. She's not great. she's not great in the original show. But in Fire Walk with Me, she gives this fantastic, unforgettable performance where you really understand that Laura Palmer character in that whole new way. Where you can see why David Lynch wanted to go back to that story, in the film and go really bring her to life, and that was amazing. That was an awesome movie. But in season 3, everybody's just giving these A game performances, like Kyle MacLachlan as as the good Coop, the bad Coop, and Dougie the whole time. He is just incredible. Miguel Ferreira, even David Lynch himself, all these fantastic, even the little stupid bit characters the mobster brothers in Las Vegas who help Coop finally get back to Twin Peaks. Those guys are hilarious. They're hilarious. And they're an incredible part of that show. That season 3 is just full of awesome stuff. For my money, that is the peak David Lynch experience. This is kind of an all over the place, but we're talking Twin Peaks and David Lynch here, so I hope you don't mind. and so so I we watched this show. I watched like a number of nice interviews and talks like on YouTube of David Lynch, and from what has really stuck with me about listening to his kind of philosophy and way of living is the idea is absolutely king, and having you win by having more better ideas than other people in the creative industry, and creating something that sticks with you, that gives you more reason to look in. And that's why his stuff is all deliberately open-ended, and there's more to think about. There's these worlds are more expansive and fleshed out than like a closed book narrative, and that's like there are people, I'm like, obviously I'm a fan of serialized story in like comic books, and I have been for many years. Most comics do not make very good use of that open-ended storytelling format. There are very few writers, I think, who really understood the assignment, and have been able to play and grow and create like a more increasing and ever expanding world inside like their comic mythologies. And I think probably Chris Claremont, Uncanny X-Men is king of that, with the subplots and just the length of his whole run. He was able to do so much. But if you look at even like really critically acclaimed writers and runs, they often are not able to live up to that full, and obviously it's hard to live up to the Claremont X-Men, but they've been unable to really build their franchises in that much of a meaningful way, from obscurity into like a top media franchise on the planet, to the hottest property in the world, and so it's really awesome to see that. Because I think, if we look at a lot of like the critically acclaimed TV of the past 20 years, they haven't been able to do that as much. I think you see a lot of these, even a lot of like the best shows out there. And we're talking like Sopranos, talking like Breaking Bad, even like Game of Thrones. They have not lived up, I think, to the full capability of what like a TV serial can actually do for you in terms of like using the format to its fullest extent. If you look at Sopranos, basically every season of that show is kind of totally disconnected from each other, and I think at some point it becomes that becomes the formula. Is everything is kind of dealt with on a season by season basis. There's some like continuous character growth from season to season, but there's always like a new arc, new villain that just like randomly shows up and is somehow mysteriously a prominent member of Tony's past. Every year or so, someone gets out of jail, right? It kind of like works in world, but it still makes things feel very disconnected. And like Breaking Bad, you have like a similar problem where I think season 1 kind of like works in isolation, and then season 2 through 4 is like really the main bulk of the show. This great arc with Walt and Gus, like building up to this climax, and then it just kind of ends. And then season 5 is this sort of coda where we have to deal with all of these unresolved plot lines of Walt dealing with his family, and just like a whole brand new cast of villains that obviously are just like cannot live up to Gus and his guys. And then Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones, like it's a book, and I think as time has gone on, I've been able to appreciate where you have where like the differences in the original media of stories, how they have just such an immense impact on the structure of the story itself. And like Game of Thrones is just such an obvious example of that. And and having this like immensely densely packed narrative with all this imaginative stuff, all these different characters with really distinct points of view, and that all really mattering, all that plot really mattering. And Game of Thrones had like these good visual scenes, this good action every once in a while, cool effects and worlds, but always it's the story and plot first, because it is it's a book first, and then once they ran out of book, it just it kind of turned into nothing. I think it just like totally lost its identity and ability to keep on going. Right, it's been talked to death. But if you look at like Twin Peaks, that is like a TV original work. There's no source material it's going off of. It's wholly its own thing. And those first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks, there's a lot of stumbling. There's a lot of stumbling around because I think there's a lot of outside influence. It's I think the first TV project, and for David Lynch, I think as time went on, he kind of realized that he loved movies a lot more. But it's still, I think, it has all these great like little mysteries and little build-ups, as time goes on. And that is what I think works best in that heavily serialized form of storytelling in that format. But then as soon as you get to season 3 of Twin Peaks, it's all in on it's basically just a movie now. And we're not even going to pretend to, keep up appearances with all these like sort of TV type elements. There's like barely delineation between episodes, right? There's no there's no like sort of like the A plot, B plot thing. There's just all of these different threads that are coming together, that are meeting back at the return, and just all these moments for little beautiful visual storytelling, and even some of this payoff for some of these unresolved character arcs, as well as ones that that don't resolve at all and are just like kind of like, whoa, what just happened there, like with the whole Audrey subplot for the show, and even like with like Richard Horn too. There's just like so much to think about. Season 3 of Twin Peaks is I think far and away the best the best TV original that I've ever seen. It's barely TV, but it is. Film just has that hard set time limit problem where people like that, that medium is just not accustomed to things that are more than like 2.5 hours long. That's like the limit of where you start losing people. And like because you can get away with 3-hour longer films maybe every once in a while, but most people don't have the patience to put up with that shit. But if you take the movie and you just split it up sort of arbitrarily into 17-hour-long chunks or 40-minute chunks like that, then you can still just do it, and that's just like that's really interesting. That's awesome to me that someone was able to do that and treat it right. And I think it's, again, like I think it's very pioneering, because that is basically what like streaming shows are now. But a lot of them, this is a very common complaint, is that a lot of them are maybe just like go on a little too long. There's just too much like peripheral stuff in there to meet an expected episode count, and not enough ideas. And I never really felt that way. And Twin Peaks is twice as long as most of them, and that show just like end to end always has something new to offer. I know I'm just like glazing. I know we're just like glazing Twin Peaks here. This cannot be this cannot be one of my more interesting podcasts. But again, I want to take away some stuff here, and I guess we'll try to like push towards the end. We're coming out of the woods. The core takeaway for me in trying to build myself up as like an independent, like creative and an entrepreneur is the ideas, is having just so many interesting ideas from all these different places, where you cannot just say that that you cannot, you have enough to sink your teeth into and just keep thinking. I think that is what, as a lot of these entertainment mediums become so much more mature and fully fleshed out, that's what has to win, is those core creative elements. Sorry, it was just merging. Now that we cannot just be impressed by pure pure technical spectacle anymore. Now that that is so much more expensive and difficult to get to. Um, and they're all of like the, quote unquote easy designs for things have been kind of figured out and seen already. Like you cannot just make, Mario again. And that's like that's in the indie gaming space. Like that's like day one stuff of don't make a 2D platformer, because all of the easy 2D platformers have been made, and you have to have something super to add on top of that to make it worth people's while. So anyway, yeah, I think that was maybe one of my less coherent podcast episodes, unfortunately. But it's over now, thankfully. I hope you got something out of that talk. I really like Twin Peaks. I thought it was an awesome show with this great cast of characters that I'm still thinking about. All these like fantastic moments, and especially like in season 3, the moment where you get the good Coop finally coming back after like 15 episodes of being kind of lost, with that "I am the FBI" moment. I think it was maybe frustrating. It was sad. It was like heartbreaking to see all of that. But it just makes that payoff so much more sweet when you get to that final moment where things all come together again, and and everything is right in the world. And that is, I think that was awesome. So enough for me today. Have an amazing, wonderful, spectacular day. I don't know. Go watch Twin Peaks. Have a good one.